Welcome back. In the previous video, we created calculated columns in the data model and used it in the pivot table. The next step is to create measures using DAX formulas. I want to say a big thank you to our new and existing subscribers. And if you are yet to subscribe, please click the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Thank you. We discussed some key differences between measures and calculated columns in the previous video. I mentioned that measures are created for use in the values area of a pivot table, and you get a single value when you calculate a measure. Now let's take a look at measures. Measures are either implicit or explicit. An implicit measure is created by Excel when you drag a field to the values area of the pivot table. We're familiar with this already. So if I drag enrollment to the values area, an implicit measure has been created. If I drag any of the calculated columns to the values area, 2020 for instance, another implicit measure has been generated by Excel, and this happens in the background. You don't have to do anything. An explicit measure, on the other hand, is created in the calculation area of the data model or in the workbook. Let's start with the data model. At the top of this window is the data, and the bottom pane is the calculation area where measures are created. You can adjust the boundary to make it more visible. You can turn the calculation area view on or off here. Ideally, your measures should be created in the fact table. I'm currently in the enrollment data, which is the fact table, so we'll create the measures here. Now we'll create a measure to calculate the total 2021 funds received. I'll show you three ways. Click anywhere in the calculation area and type a name for the measure. The name should be unique. Let's name this total 2021 funds received. You won't see anything in the cell, but it will appear in the formula bar. Now type a colon to separate the name of the measure from the formula. Type an equal sign. The DAX formula we'll be using here is SUM. Press Tab to select. All the list of tables and columns will appear. Use down arrow and tab to select, or just click anywhere in the column. There you go. Hit enter and apply the currency format. Reduce decimal places as well. Good. Another way we can calculate the sum is to click the cell right under the column and click AutoSum. There you go. Now there are other functions here as well, average, count, and one of the functions you can't get in the regular pivot table is distinct count. Now let's take a look at these measures. We reference the calculated column in both measures. However, you don't have to reference a calculated column to create a measure. We can use the SUMX function to calculate total 2021 funds received. This measure will be independent of the calculated column. So type the equal sign, SUMX. The SUMX function returns the sum of an expression evaluated for each row in a table. We need the values from the 2021 funding table. Use tab to select the table, 2021 funding, comma. The expression is the lookup column in the table multiplied by enrollment. Press tab to select 2021 and multiply by the sum of enrollment. This icon here indicates the sum. That is an aggregation of enrollment. Press tab to select. The formula will walk through each row, match them, and come up with an answer. Hit enter. Let's give the measure a name, 2021 funds. So take a look at the result. They are all the same. So when do we use measures and when do we use calculated columns? I'll discuss that shortly. I'll delete these two, press delete and click delete from model. Let's switch over to the workbook. Take a look at the field list. The FX symbol indicates that this is a measure. So let's drag it to the values area. Now let's create a measure in the workbook. You can right click on the table and add a measure, or go to the Power Pivot tab. In the Calculations category, click the drop down and select New Measure. Select the table where you want the measure placed. That will be the fact table enrollment data. Name would be 2021 average funds received. The DAX formula we'll use here is average. Press tab. All the list of tables and columns will appear. Press E for the name of the table. Down arrow and tab to select. Close the bracket. You can click check formula for error. No errors found. So select currency format here. Reduce decimal places and click OK. The measure will be displayed in the values area. Now, if you want to edit or delete a measure, you can do it right here. You can right click on the measure, edit or delete. Now let's do a quick comparison between the calculated column and measure we created. I'll drag 2021 funds received to the values area. You'll notice that they're exactly the same. This is a measure and this is a calculated column. So when do we use measures and when do we use calculated columns? I mentioned earlier that measures are used in the values area, while calculated columns can be used in any area. So that's one of the factors that should guide your choice between the two. In addition, calculated columns take a lot of memory because it calculates per row, while measures do not require so much memory because it delivers a single value. A measure can be moved from one table to another without losing its functionality. However, calculated columns cannot. Also, you can easily reference measures in a calculated column. However, it is more complex to reference calculated columns in measures. In summary, it depends on your data and its intended use. That's all for today. We'll learn more about Power Pivot in the next video. Bye for now.